On the bright side of it all, this is only the second worst loss to a 14-point favorite when you had a lead in a big game this month.
That's right. We're here. It's Wednesday. Welcome into the PHNX Sun Devils show, coming to you live from Studio K, presented by Circle K. Join Inner Circle for free by downloading that Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details. Yeah, I'm Anthony Totri. That guy over there, that's Phoenix. Erik Ruby.
Dude, stop
Captain,
with the Phoenix.
Captain Redbeard behind the Mac. Doing it all, making all the magic happen. We're here. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. You know, we didn't do a lot of these during football season, but it is time for a walk of shame because your Arizona State Sun Devils could do it. Came out empty in the second half. Lost to Kansas, 74-55.
You've never started a show like that before.
No?
Yep. We're here. Who are you?
What?
You got too used to winning, man. Because we're in a different mood. This really sucked. I basically say that whenever one of my teams loses.
Yeah.
But being up on the road in the way that ASU played in the first half, where they felt like they were the better team.
Yeah.
They were playing like they were the better team. And to just come out and get stifled, just suffocated, locked down by Kansas.
It was bad.
And just no fight, no punch back when you were going blow for blow in the first half. It's nice they won the first half because they showed that they can hit a level, but they just got gassed out, and it almost makes you more sad because you felt like you could have walked away with a win there tonight.
Yeah. I think you said it when we were watching the game, right? In the first half, you already had an idea of how this was going based off of what we'd seen, right?
Yeah.
I think that first half performance, it was kind of like they said at the halftime show. ASU looked like they wanted it more, right? They were more efficient. When they got to the free throw line, they hit their shots and they were playing team basketball, right? Especially on the offensive side of the ball. And then, you know, that second half, it was the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Sloppy.
Yep.
Dirty.
Not like just, I feel
like something you'd see in Kansas.
It literally felt like, and I turned to you. I turned to you at halftime. And it was like that, one of those moments where you just have this feeling and you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
And everybody, including myself, this hand up, was kind of big stepping at half. Everybody's like, we're up. Oh, we're playing well. You know, all of that.
But, like, shouldn't you do that?
I think you should acknowledge that they're playing well, but there was a certain tone where it was just like, and I was saying this, like, we own Kansas. I stopped you from sending some tweets.
It was, hey, guys, it would have been a good tweet.
I stopped you from sending a tweet.
It was not. It was a good tweet.
It was a good tweet, but you would have gotten cold takes exposed. You absolutely would have. And I just turned to you and I was like, man, we're going to lose this game by double digits, huh? Like, it felt like one of those games where, like, that you get that PTSD of teams in ASU's past that have just kind of, like, flopped in the second half after giving you some hope. And you're like, man, I really hope this isn't one of those times. And it ended up exactly falling into that. I think a big part of that is not having Joson Sannon off the bench.
You needed somebody to be able to create their own shot in that second half.
Not even just like create their own shot, but literally just take minutes away from somebody else at a certain point. I guess
that's fair too.
You were running such a short rotation, and yeah, the create your own shot is the most important aspect of that because he's not just a warm body.
Especially when you see second half numbers.
Going into the game, he was tied for the leading in team leading points per game, and he was doing it extremely efficiently at times, and in a way where when you go 5 6-7 minutes without scoring to start the second half. You throw in Joe Sansanin a couple minutes into that, and you're not going to go scoreless, either due to his gravity or him hitting a shot.
Yeah.
But that doesn't excuse the fact that the players that were out there, it wasn't just that they looked tired. It looked like they were being sloppy as well. I love Alston Mason, but 6 turnovers from Alston Mason is tough, but he played 40 minutes.
Yeah, and he from a
played every single
perspective,
minute.
From a scoring perspective, I feel like as your leading scorer,
19,
then you'll take it, right?
Yeah, you'll take it,
over.
But like you don't see him have 6 turnovers.
No,
like
but that's credit to Kansas.
Yeah,
right. This is a team in Kansas that is ranked in the top 15 for a reason. They are one of the best teams in this conference for a reason. So you expect this, right? To an extent, and that's not necessarily an excuse. But Kansas looked like Kansas today, and I think Arizona State, fully healthy, whatever. Maybe could have tried to really carry over that first half into the second half. But without Joe Sansanin, that was always going to be a really tough thing to do.
It just slipped away so fast.
It did.
And it slipped away because Kansas was just getting whatever they wanted on defense, right? And I get it. JJ says we're fine in the
only
chat.
Fell one spot in KenPom.
But at the same time, I went into the season promising myself, like, I'm going to hold this team to a little bit of a different standard. Right, you think about the best recruiting class where you have multiple 5 stars, a 4-star, right? And you're like, okay, we got the young guys, and then you get the transfers in there. Like BJ Freeman in the first half was great, right? Bashir Jihad, I know we have a super chat from Jacob. He has up and down moments, but at times he's been the best player on the floor for Arizona State. Alston Mason, these are players who have played a lot of college basketball, but not on this level.
Yeah.
So you were hoping, and we talked about this in Factor Cap yesterday, that you can get a win over either Kansas or Baylor, right? And Baylor at home is always going to be the easier option. But the fact that you saw this Arizona State team play on a level where they were pretty comfortably outplaying Kansas for an entire half of basketball, right? On the road.
How much, and I'm curious, how much of that do you think was on Kansas offensively?
In the first half, then struggling? I actually think a lot of it had to do with ASU's defense.
Okay.
I think offensively, and I think it might have been Jordan Ham who put it out there, who said that the first half was arguably Arizona State's best passing half of the season. Yeah. And I agree with that. And I think it's also the one where they were the most connected on defense as well, whether it came to man, whether it came to switching, right? In the paint, Jayden Quaintance was making people extremely uncomfortable. He continues to just be an absolute menace on the defensive end, if not blocking shots, altering shots.
Yeah.
Right. And you saw these moments where it didn't just feel like Kansas was putting up a stinker. It felt like Arizona State was outplaying them.
Yeah.
And then
that's fair.
And then they get gassed out. Kansas locks in. Kansas is a deeper team. Kansas defensively made them extremely uncomfortable. And it didn't feel like Arizona State had a set offense to go back and rely to. And that's been a criticism of Bobby's teams for quite some time now. And I think at half, Kansas kind of looked at themselves and said, if we're going to have to exploit them, pressuring them on defense and taking away any easy looks is the number one way to get back in this game. And they were just the better team, and they executed on
it. I mean, obviously in that second half, right, you bring up the team basketball part. I know there was somebody in the chat that was talking about just not a lot of ball movement specifically in that second half. But in the first half, at least in terms of, like Jordan Ham said, passing perspective here, like Arizona State, 10 assists on the night, 8 of them came in the first half. They were playing their best offensive basketball against the best opponent, or one of the best opponents that they've seen all season. So I think that's something obviously positive that you bring out of this. But that second half, it felt outplayed, outcoached, out
hustled,
out everything.
Yeah, outsmarted. There were some mistakes out there. Turnovers, very untimely turnovers. BC says big difference was the turnovers. ASU 18, Kansas 12. Sloppy and also out rebounded by 10. And we'll get into some more numbers later. But Kansas going into this game, like, they were a 14-point favorite, right? Like, they were supposed to be the better team. They ended up walking away the better team. Just in this Big 12 conference, you need to punch some of the big dogs in the mouth, right? Like West Virginia.
And they did punch them in the mouth.
Yeah, but no, they punched them in the mouth. But I meant like on a bigger stage, is like actually getting that win. Like West Virginia beating Kansas without their best player is that punch you in the mouth moment.
It is,
right?
it is. But I think Arizona State could have gotten away with. And again, I'm not on this train at all. Right? I agree with you in terms of like the overall bigger
do a show,
picture.
So hit me.
No,
yeah,
but the overall picture, you have to eventually get one of these, right? You can't go down like this.
I want them to compete in the Big 12 and to be one of the teams at the end of the season. You say that's somebody that can make a run in the tournament if everything goes right.
That's fair. That's fair. And all I'm saying is they laid down tonight. They laid down in the second half. You can't have that against Kansas. You can't have that against Baylor. You can't have that against Iowa State. You can't have it against Houston. You can't have it against Arizona. You can't have it against these NCAA tournament teams that you might see later on. Because when you get to the tournament, not just the NCAA tournament, but the Big 12 tournament, if you have a team like a Kansas or a Baylor or an Iowa State that you fought in the first half, but you laid down in the second half, they know that. Mm-hmm. They know what you're willing to go to. And I will take a behemoth like Kansas 2 times out of 2 if they won the first one.
So here's the thing, right? And yes, we are correct in saying that they laid down, but part of it does feel like a matter of situational circumstance. And JJ, exactly, JJ, you and I are on the same wavelength. Depth is killing them. Here are the minutes played by their starters: 40, 32, 32, 37, 39. Your starting backcourt of Alston Mason and Adam Miller played total every minute but 1 this game combined. Alston Mason played 40. Adam Miller played 39. Right? At a certain point, you're a human. You're a human being. You're not supposed to be playing that many minutes. Let's look at Kansas' starting lineup. 22 minutes, 34 minutes, 32 minutes, 32 minutes, 32 minutes. Highest minutes Skinner was in was 34. That would have been the 4th highest on Arizona State's starting lineup, right? They only played 2 other players. Amir Ali got 10 minutes, and Sean Phillips Jr. got 9 minutes. Right. And in those minutes, Amir Ali had 2 points. Sean Phillips Jr. had 0.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it at the start. You needed Joson Sandin.
You needed Sandin. But also, it's like, even with Sandin, you do need another body. That's why you look at a player like Trevor Best, who could be coming in here and getting some minutes for Arizona State. He's obviously going to have to come in and work his way. Again, as a young guy, as somebody who was in high school recently, will come in and work into a Big 12 program in the middle of the season in conference play. When the team does need guard depth, Austin Nunez had a surgery today, right? Like, you do need another body back there because even Sandin's there. One of your other guards is still going to be getting high 30s.
They could have used Nunez tonight, man.
Yeah, they could have just used somebody to give Alston Mason 3 minutes on the bench.
Yeah.
Give Adam Miller a couple extra minutes on the bench too. And so I think it's slightly unfair to go out and totally just criticize like effort and like kind of the mental approach to the game. I think that's certainly part of it, but also just as like a person playing 100 minutes of any collegiate sports game, especially one like basketball, it's going to wear on you over time.
Yeah.
Right. And so like 6 turnovers to 3 assists for Alston Mason is on him, but also the situation.
Yeah. I think that's all fair. Look, a lot of good conversations still to come. I want to get to By the Numbers, presented by Desert Financial Credit Union, Arizona's #1 credit union, named by Forbes. Erik, of course, the only number that matters is that final score. Kansas outdueling Arizona State 74-55. In terms of your leading scores, like we said, Alston Mason led the Devils with 19 points tonight. On the other side, Zeke Mayo for the Jayhawks, 23 points. In terms of the way the two teams shot from the floor, 36% for Arizona State, 44% for Kansas from behind the arc. Just 6 of 24 from three-point land for Arizona State. Not much better for the Jayhawks, 7 of 23, 30%. This is the doozy, though. Second half points, 38 for Kansas, a mere 13.
Surprised they got to 13.
State. It was not pretty.
It was really bad. It was really bad. And William in the chat also makes a good point. It's a marriage of a couple things. Says, you need someone to coach fundamentals. You don't get beat by around 20 after leading by 6 at the half purely because of fatigue. No, I think the coaching part of it comes in the first 10 minutes of the half, where you don't score. You don't have just like every team should have okay, you know what's hitting the fan right now.
Yeah.
What's our bread and butter? What's a play that we've run so many times in practice that if we just need an easy look, if we need to get Quaintance rolling to the rim, if we need Adam Miller to come off of a screen, Alston Mason to get downhill and see who collapses and makes a read and passes it either to the paint or out for a three. Like, what's our bread and butter? Is it a Bashir Jihad post-up touch? I don't think Jacob would like that, right? You don't have one of those go-to plays that you just sit back and you just go, ugh. Right? Like Arizona State football had the ultimate go-to play. Give the ball to the best running back in the country.
There's not one of those on this.
But that's what I'm saying. But with even last year with Kenny, right? Like you knew that there was a certain, like some bread and butter plays that if SHIT's hitting the fan, man, like you are going to that. Yeah. And that's for every team. And this team doesn't feel like they have that. And then they get tired because Alston Mason is playing 40 minutes. Your entire starting lineup is missing a total of 19 minutes in the entire game.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. So it's a situation thing, and it's also a coaching and it's a personnel thing. And that's how you get blown out in the second half after being up by 6 and controlling the first.
No, you're 100% right. Corey Oldham in the chat, I think with a really, really solid comment, just in terms of you can get away with not having Joson Sannon against Colorado. You can't get away with not having Joson Sannon on the road against Kansas. It's just not going to work. Bobby said it, and they brought it up again in on the broadcast that Joson Sannon is the best shooter that Bobby Hurley has ever coached.
Absolutely.
And to be able to have that on the floor tonight was something that you couldn't afford to have. I was getting texts from people that are just Arizona State fans saying, just want to make sure number 3 is our best player. Like, don't even know his name, but they're like, number 3, clearly our best player, right? Where is he? What's going on?
Yeah.
So hopefully you can get that back on Saturday.
Yeah, and I do want to talk a little bit more about Sannon. William has a chat that I want to address, but I'm going to be me. I'm going to do what I do.
I have monitor the halls.
I have my bread and butter. I have my go-to plays when poop hits the fan.
You have an awful play.
And guess what?
That's worse than like tush push.
It's one of these. I'm going to hit it with a no look. We'll keep talking about this right after this break.
Oh, goodness. Look, Erik, I'm going to be honest with you today.
Please do.
You're not looking as good as you normally do.
Oh, you're gonna put me on blast like that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had to do it. It's only because, though, you don't have one of those on. You don't have a phenomenal branded Bills cap on your head. That's all I ask.
99% of the time I do.
That's all I ask, guys. Look, whether you need snapbacks, truckers, fitteds, beanies, or tees, Branded Bills has you covered, of course, with performance and style. They've got partnerships with the Arizona State University, and they took our conversation as it relates to the charity thing with U of A on the Wildcat show. That's what they say now. They say that.
Really?
Yeah, they took the charity.
Oh, they took the bit.
They took the bit.
Oh, that's so funny.
It's
so
unbelievable.
Of them.
It's unbelievable.
Love that,
guys. Unbelievable. Just like Branded Bills, affordable, comfy, and they've got something for everybody. Head to brandedbills.com and use code PHNX for 20% off your first order.
We're trendsetters. You want to know who else is a trendsetter?
That's what we do.
Somebody that you can rely, who's ahead of everything. It's Carol Royce Realty. I want you to tune in right now if you are selling your house, because nobody knows the market better than Carol. She has a real estate team that is family owned and locally operated with 3 generations of family members. They've sold over 12,000 homes across the valley.
12,000?
12,000. That's a lot of homes. Wow. And here's the thing. You can rest assured, making sure you're not just having the right choice in front of you, you have a guaranteed one. Your home sold for 100% of the market value, or Carol's going to pay you the difference. You're walking away with your money. If you're considering selling your home in 2025, the name to trust is Carol Royce, your home sold guaranteed realty. Have questions? Call today or visit Carol online at carolroyceteam.com. Again, write this down. That's carolroyceteam.com.
Did you write it down, Captain Redbeard?
I did.
By the way, with some behind the scenes, Captain Redbeard refusing to sit.
Yeah, working on blood flow.
Stood up the whole game.
Do you feel better?
I do.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What about you feels better right now? Do you feel like you're better than us, or
No.
Looking down on us.
This is just what the captain does.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it was awesome because he produced our PHNX Rising show for an hour before the game started, and then he stood up the entire game and he's standing up this entire post game.
Yeah.
That's more consistent effort than Arizona State University there, right? Like
For basketball.
in basketball, right? Because he's got this is the second half. This is the end of it, and he hasn't sat down once.
No, he hasn't. Not
hasn't
yet.
even gotten close.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I want to read
You're gonna get super chat.
super chats.
Super chat. Get to
Yeah,
it.
super chats. Thank you, Jacob. I'm gonna keep talking Sandin and Williams chat a little bit later, but Jacob with 2 super chats, $4.99. This one from earlier in the show says Jihad leads the team in turnovers by 19 this season. Stop letting him dribble.
He is a Division I basketball player, though.
I'm gonna let him dribble.
Yeah, I think we kind of.
I get what you're saying. He shouldn't be.
Imagine tonight if they didn't let him dribble on a 7-man rotation.
Would have saved him some energy. I get what you're saying. He does. Sometimes they ask him to do a little bit too much. He can get in certain modes, especially in the post against smaller teams. If he gets a mismatch, where he could be a pretty reliable option down low. But against really good defenses that swarm well, the more that he dribbles, the more prone he is to get off balance and get a turnover. So I completely understand what you're saying, and he is more prone to doing that than of course a lot of the guards on this team. And then fatigue plays into turnovers as well. Jacob then with a $9.99 super chat, thank you, says this team needs to learn their roles and play to their strengths. This team doesn't, and it's on the coaching staff. I'm fine with Jihad getting the ball, but he doesn't need to put the ball on the floor. I think
He really does not want to see Bashir touch the basketball.
no, he can shoot and he can pass.
That's it. Do
That's
not dribble
it.
that ball.
No, it's funny. I also wanted William had a chat earlier. Their bread and butter is transition offense. They don't have a go-to play in the half court.
No, they do not.
As a basketball team, your go-to offense cannot be transition. You need to be good at taking advantage on transition. It's where you get your easiest plays, your easiest points. But when a game gets rough on the road against the number 11 team in the country, you can't just say our bread and butter is transition. Like, you need to have something in the back of your head that you know you can go to.
Yeah, you absolutely do. I think, again, this was just, it really was a tale of two halves, Erik.
That about sums it up.
Yeah. I mean, you want to just call it?
Go
it
Devils.
right yeah.
Peace.
Look, I do want to get to bottle service because the first half, there were some really great moments.
This is a first half bottle service.
For Arizona State.
Bottle service closed early tonight.
You're right. First half bottle service could have actually gone to a couple different players, but this one is going to Alston Mason. Alston Mason, 19 points on the night, 6 of 10 from the floor, was surgical in the first half. Loved everything he was doing from a scoring perspective, defensively, and then, of course, being able to get his teammates involved. However, when you say it's a first half bottle service, Alston Mason, 15 of those 19 points came in the first half.
Yep. It falls in line with everything that we've said before. I love his game. I like his fearlessness when he attacks the basket. He shot 5 free throws, right? A lot of that from being aggressive. Some of it, was Kansas being sloppy on defense and contesting shots as well, but efficient, 60% from the field, 50% from behind the line. The only blemish tonight for Alston Mason is 6 turnovers, but to play 40 minutes and only pick up 1 personal foul is also really impressive, especially how quick that whistle was at the beginning of the second half against ASU. All around good game from him. I do want to see him kind of continue to light it up scoring more because he does have that mode. Obviously, consistency is a big thing that stood in the way of that tonight. But hoping with Josan Sannon coming back and maybe Trevor Best in there, you can see Alston maybe put up more points in less minutes, simply because there can be a more dedicated focus to, like, all right, when I'm on the floor, like, I know where I need to put my energy in. Or he might just have to go more to playmaking, because I'm not sure exactly how Trevor Best fits on this team if he does indeed crack the rotation.
That would be crazy if he cracked the rotation.
Yeah, it would be, but I think it's on the table considering the fact that you did not have another guard. Like, Amir Ali's like a really small forward. You didn't have another guard.
But how much are you trusting
tonight.
Throwing in Trevor Best at this point?
It might not even be a trusting. It might just be a necessity. I'm just saying, if he plays well enough in practice, you're probably going to be quicker to throw him in.
Yeah, but there's so
than you
many
would be
question marks.
if you had another body there right now. If you had Austin Nunez,
You're throwing out another 17-year-old.
I already got one.
You're
Combined
right.
age, they'd still be younger than Hunter Dickinson.
Freak.
I think it'll be interesting. I wouldn't put my money on him cracking the rotation, but to say that it's impossible, I think would be a little short-sighted considering where this team stands as far as guard depth goes.
It's impossible with one S.
We just haven't seen the kid play basketball either.
No.
Right? Like he has to be. This is a very unique situation. This doesn't happen, right? Like this just does not happen.
Yeah.
So he has to be good enough to warrant something, right? It's got to at least be, even if it's a long shot, on the table, considering the fact that Austin Nunez ain't coming back and your starting backcourt played
the whole game,
39 of 40 minutes, or no, 79 of 80 minutes combined tonight.
A lot of minutes.
That's just not sustainable because we talk about making a run through the Big 12.
It's clearly not sustainable through a game.
Well, exactly. So how is it going to be sustainable going through this conference?
I'm not saying it is, but I don't know if that's the answer. I don't know if starting...
But you might not have another one. I'm not saying starting Trevor
or playing him. Playing him, I don't even think...
5 minutes a game. In games where you're winning, right? Like a game against Colorado. Like you just need another body.
Yeah, in those games, yes. In those games, absolutely. I hear you on that.
Man One says, looks like he could play. Like he's good. You just don't know how it's going to translate in this situation on this level. Like William says he wouldn't join the team halfway through the year if he wasn't going to see some minutes.
I don't know, man. I could be wrong. I get like your hesitation, but I think if in this situation, like why else would you be here? Because he's going to lose a year of eligibility, won't he? In case of like dramatic injury, that's probably why.
What's more dramatic than your starting point guard not being able to sit down for a singular minute against the number 11 team in the country? This was a 20-point blowout, and he still didn't miss a single minute.
Yeah,
they didn't have an option.
I guess best gives you an option, but I'm not saying it's one I like.
It's in the name, dude.
Okay. On that note, David saying not being able to retain Frankie hurts this team. Yeah, you would love to have Frankie Collins on this team. It would be so fun to watch him and Alston Mason out there at the same time.
And he's such a different guard. Yeah, he's such a different guard, and the defensive intensity. Imagining Josan Sandin and Frankie Collins on the court together.
And Quaintance.
Right, I'm just thinking backcourt.
I'm thinking defensively, though.
No, I'm thinking defensively, too, and the fact that you have Frankie Collins and Josan Sandin, Frankie Collins for the defense. Right, and then Josan Sandin for the offense.
Yeah.
Think of if you had Frankie Collins and your
Frankie Collins low-key solves all the problems that this team has, except a backup big.
Except for having bread and butter plays to go to. Because
that's your bread and butter. Collins. We're running the pick and roll with Frankie and JQ. That's 100% what we're running.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Hey, but imagine if you had a backcourt of Alston Mason, Adam Miller, Frankie Collins, Josan Sandin. Think about...
Say it one more time.
I'm not saying that this is going to be who's starting, who comes off the bench, but Alston Mason, Adam Miller, Josan Sandin, Frankie Collins.
Yeah.
You have 2 of those 4 on the court at all times.
I love that.
Best team in the country?
No.
Of all time?
No. But it makes this team better.
It makes this team a whole lot better. I mean, yeah, a shocker. Having the best player on ASU last year back would be really massive for this team, especially when they have no guards.
Yeah, 100% fair.
Off the bench at least, or anybody who could take more minutes away. Gerald, not Gerald Bourget, but Gerald Salgado. Thank you for joining us, Gerald. If you're new around here, stick around. We appreciate you joining us. Says West Virginia beat Kansas at home with their best shooter out. Doesn't matter how much talent Hurley has on the team, on the floor, he can't coach.
What do we think?
I think I came into the season saying this is Bobby Hurley's biggest test. And I feel like
Kansas?
No, this season.
Oh.
Right? Like this season, a decade in, right? Actually, you know what? This is a good conversation.
Wow, a decade in.
This is a good conversation.
Oh, you're going to do the thing.
Oh, I'm going to do the thing. Gerald, it's a good comment.
Oh, my goodness. We almost had him, chat. He was literally on his way into the argument.
But chat.
And he wouldn't have stumbled out of it for like 8 minutes.
That's exactly right. Like that's what I'm saying. If I started that, we would miss a break. So we're gonna do this, but it's gonna get juicy right on the other side. We have a new friend over here at PHNX Sports, a dear friend, of all of ours. That is Pure Edibles, founded in Arizona and available if you look to your left or if you look to your right, because at 130 dispensaries statewide. Listen, these Pure gummies, they're not covered in sugar like all of their competitors, but let me tell you, it tastes beautiful. Wonderful. And the best part about it isn't just they say indica, sativa, hybrid. They literally tell you exactly what it's going to do for you, whether it's to uplift, to relax, to put you in a state of bliss, to make you go to sleep. Pure Edibles on the can says this is what's going to happen if you take this gummy. 10 milligram pieces in so many different types of varieties. The kicks are like Starburst. They have gummies.
They're like Starburst?
Yeah, dude.
Nobody told me that.
Yeah, it's really good. And they taste delicious. Go find yourself some Pure Edibles products at one of over 130 dispensaries in Arizona. Tell them that Anthony Totri sent you.
Do it. Also, tell our friends over at Neutral that we sent you. Okay, if you haven't tried Neutral before, you clearly weren't checking out the post-game shows, because it felt like we were indulging in Neutral vodka seltzers every single Saturday.
We had lots of wins to celebrate.
We did. We absolutely did. And if you guys have a win to celebrate, Neutral is the way to go. It's made with simple ingredients like vodka, seltzer, and real juice. I say it every time. I'm not a giant fan of seltzers in general. It doesn't really matter. But when it comes to Neutral, it's on a different scale completely. And part of that has to do with the fact that it's not overly carbonated, and the flavors actually taste like juice. It's crazy. They got pineapple, watermelon, black cherry, orange, and so many more. Neutral. Keep it tasty. Enjoy responsibly. 2024 Anheuser-Busch Neutral flavored vodka and carbonation, St. Louis, Missouri.
We got to talk about Bobby Hurley.
Is this where you wanted to go before you sidestepped into what we just did?
Is that a surprise?
No, I'm just asking you, is this where we started this whole journey?
Yeah. I
don't remember.
This is where we started. I need you to lock in. Okay. So Gerald said West Virginia beat Kansas at home without their best shooter. Doesn't matter how much talent Hurley has on the team, on the floor, he can't coach. I'm not going to say that Bobby Hurley can't coach. When I say Bobby Hurley, this season is kind of the nail in the coffin of showing a lot of what would be considered his flaws. Coaching offense. The best teams that Bobby has had has come with random explosive scorers that can get buckets on their own. And when they come in bunches, Cody Justice, Trey Holder, Shannon Evans, right? Remy Martin, Zylan Cheatham, right? Like you have multiple different players who just have, like, we've used the term bread and butter, right? And those have been the best ASU teams, the ASU teams that can hit the peak. But the reason why those teams never were consistent, were never always in the tournament or always competing in the tournament or just dominating throughout conference play despite having talent, right? Having a NBA players like Lugan Stort on the roster.
Wow, you used his full name.
Yeah, this is serious.
You're a sicko.
This is serious. This is serious, right?
Only his mother uses his first name.
And Erik Ruby. The reason why all those teams stalled out is the same reason why Arizona State stalled out tonight. Sometimes it just felt like there was no offensive identity. They had nothing to fall back on when the going got tough. And in big games, they would rise and they'd have this adrenaline, and these great players would rise to the moment and take down the great teams like Kansas. Take down heavy favorites. But it's the same team that is the heavy favorite, and when they get punched in the mouth and when the other team made it ugly, they didn't just have an identity to rely on, right? All these ASU team success, a lot of it's been based off how much individual talent have you accumulated, and I think that's what brings this roster afloat a lot of times too. And it's on Bobby this season to show throughout Big 12 play that can change. Because if we're having the same conversation after Baylor, if we're having the same conversation after a team like UCF, right? Not one of the great teams in the Big 12, it would tell a lot. It would say a lot about, the preparedness of this team night in and night out. And it's just unfortunate because Bobby has so many clear strengths in his position when it comes to recruiting, relating to his players. All of his players love him, right? Like, it's hard for coaches to be good at doing that. But he has to fix a lot of these on-court issues that have been consistent.
This team's 10-4.
Yeah.
3 of their 4 losses have come to ranked teams. 2 of those teams are Gonzaga and Kansas, and they didn't have their best player on the court tonight.
I get it. It's not all.
And they were still up double digits on Kansas at one point.
But you understand that it's not just about this season.
Or no, they were never up double digits on Kansas.
But you understand it's not just about this season, right?
I know. I hear you.
And
I agree. Me, I get it. I've watched this team.
I think there's great prospects for this season. I think it is totally on the table for this team to win a tournament game or 2. Like, genuinely. I think they have the talent to do that. And we've seen, like, a game against Colorado, they go out and they dominated front to end, right? Now, Colorado's the worst team
top scorer
at home, but without Joe
Colorado is not the worst team in this conference.
No, but a worse team.
It is, yeah, they're a worse team
than who they've played in conference so far. BYU's a little up and down. And yeah, their losses have been in tough situations on the road, right? They've been good losses. But that doesn't mean that the process has been perfect in those 2.
No.
Right?
But it doesn't have to be perfect.
And a lot of those losses that came before Big 12 play were close.
You just have to win.
The Florida game.
That's it.
But you've been blown out twice in the Big 12 so far.
You have been.
Both on the road.
1 to Kansas.
But both in ways where, like, the BYU game, you just got punked. That's not great. You had no fight, no bounce back in the second half. Kansas, on the road, you're up at half, and you come out and you get so seriously punked to the point of not scoring. Like, at all.
You scored 13.
No, but you know what I mean, dude. Like, those are the things that, unfortunately...
I know, you're driving a train one way. I'm driving it the other way.
But we're going the same direction. It's just whether you're looking out... We're not, though. We're the meme about which side of the window are you looking out of, right? And for me, I just want to see a path to changing that. I want to see improvement, right? And if they go out against Baylor, because we talked about if they needed to win one of these 2 games.
You said that, though.
We talked about if. I said they do, but I said the only argument against that is if both losses were really close games where they played well.
Yes.
Well, you're 0-1 on that right now. If you go against Baylor and you fix some of the things we're talking about tonight and respond at home, your first at-home Big 12 game, okay, then we can start having a different conversation. But if you lose to Baylor by 15 after holding a first half lead and the same thing happens, it's like you could talk about losing to another good team, but it's how you lose. That matters as well.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to get at earlier when I said they laid down. Like, you can have games that you give up the lead in the second half to a really good team, right? And you can lose by 7 or 8. You can't lay down and lose by 19. That's something that you cannot afford to have. That's more so what I was getting at earlier in the show when I was talking about, if this team sees you again, right, which you're going to see Kansas again, like, that's something that they now know, right, from a mental perspective, from an effort perspective of like, okay, if they don't have a 7th or 8th guy, if Josan Sannon's not out there, we just got to stay close for a little bit, and then these guys give up.
Sure, and to give ASU some benefit of the doubt, because we're early in Big 12 play, they got blown out by BYU on the road. They came back and they responded.
They built a bum Colorado.
They responded at home against Colorado. They just got punked on the road against a good ranked team.
Can't get whooped, Nan one. Can't get whooped.
Yeah, no, you can't get whooped. This is a bad look. But if they prove themselves to have the identity of you knock me down, even if you punk me in a full game, I'm going to come back the next one locked in. If they go out and they handle a Baylor, they beat Baylor, and then tonight's a lot more digestible because in a way you still showed that fight. And maybe Josan Sannon is what you need to continue to show that fight. Maybe they just been dealt a bad hand in a really good conference. Those types of things happen in sports.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can acknowledge them and consider their impact, but it doesn't take away from the other themes that we're seeing. Right. And if ASU bounces back and beats Baylor, then we're sitting here having a different conversation about a team that maybe in a game doesn't always fight back, but responds to losing well, especially big losses on the road and in kind of embarrassing fashion. BYU was embarrassing. Kansas was embarrassing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, look, earlier you were talking about, this is a lot easier to digest if this goes a different way. And that brings us perfectly to aftertaste.
Oh, boy.
We're talking about digestion. So if you're new here, aftertaste most sus segment in all of All City Network. I will stand on that. And if you guys can do me a solid, I'm just going to ask you what this game pretty much tasted like, but in the most sus way possible. So you ready, Erik, Captain Redbeard?
Yeah, I do want to say one of the benefits of getting to, do this show with Anthony Totri and be behind the scenes of it all is
you get to see the ones that don't.
Yeah, I guess sometimes I get to hear the aftertaste questions that don't make the cut.
That was today's that did make
today's might have been an all-timer. Situational comedy, all involved, only a joke that me and you would get.
And Kyle was there. Was Kyle there?
Kyle was standing. Kyle was there standing.
You got it?
Did you hear what didn't make the cut for aftertaste?
I did not.
Okay. We'll tell you after the show. Maybe we'll send it in the Discord.
I'll send it to him right now.
Diehards only.
Send it in the Diehard Discord right now?
No. I'm just going to send it to Kyle.
Oh. We'll send it in the Diehard Discord after this. I think we should. CJ says, one positive, guys. We still have less losses than U of A.
We do.
You're not wrong.
There you go, Kyle. You can check that. That's what it was going to be.
Okay, so...
Moving on.
Okay, I need to talk this out with you.
Talk it out.
Because green tee shots came to mind. Because at first...
Wait, I didn't ask you.
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't.
You did.
I didn't.
He did not.
I did not ask you.
The question.
But he was going straight.
I thought you asked the question.
No, you're in your own world here.
Yeah, go ahead.
What was flown in your facial window?
A green tee shot.
A green tee shot.
Because it tasted really good at first, and then you got a little ahead of yourself, and then you just got shut down because you had too much.
Okay, I can live with that.
Because this game at the end didn't taste good. Yeah,
it starts promising.
Yeah.
And then it's less
and
promising.
Then you get a little ahead of yourself. You're like, ooh, we're up 6.5. Ooh, up 6 shots.
Yeah, and then you can literally only get 2 more up.
Yeah, and then you can't score for the rest of the night.
You can't score the rest of the evening.
You are shut down. You're sloppy.
Yeah.
Green tee shot. We're rolling green tee shot.
That was awesome. What do you got, Captain Redbeard?
I'm going to say ice cream.
Okay, I'm listening.
Because it's one of those things that you really enjoy, at least I do. And once you start eating it and getting full, you experience like a really bad second half sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
A really bad second half.
But yeah, it could be really bad.
Yeah. I mean, that leads me to mine. I think this one is pretty easy for me. This is cheese enchiladas.
Because you get a tummy ache.
No, because my stomach doesn't agree with dairy.
No.
But cheese enchiladas, it's game over.
Okay, what are the odds?
So they go in tasting great.
And then the second half, you take a break.
The second half of that is just, there are war crimes. And that's exactly what the second half of this game was.
William says, Sour Patch Kids, sweet sour gone. What would it take for you to eat an enchilada in hour number 1 of our 24-hour live stream?
Do you want that?
Kind of. I think it'd be funny. You have to call in whenever you leave.
Can it be like the 24-hour challenge where
how many enchiladas we eat?
Well, yeah.
What if
I eat 12 enchiladas?
I don't want to say this. I was going to say something
No, get it out.
What if this might trigger your PTSD?
I'm not eating waffles.
I want to say, what if we did the 24-hour live stream from Waffle House and did the Waffle House challenge?
What if we just did the bar one? Does the bar one?
The drink one?
Yeah. Where it's like you take away an hour for every shot and 30 minutes for every like beer or cocktail you do.
Green tea shots?
So I'm face down.
Kyle,
hour 12.
Kyle, are you gonna stand for the whole 24-hour stream? We could have
I'm down to do that. By the way,
I'm
down to trade it for one of those challenges.
If we all have a challenge, yeah, I'll take that one.
Dude,
you still have a tattoo to get.
I know.
If Kyle has to stand or chooses to stand for the whole stream, we should have a Kyle cam. I think we should just have a Kyle cam either way
at all times.
Yeah.
Why hasn't Max sold this?
I don't know. We should just have somebody following Kyle around.
Yeah, we'll discuss it later with Max. We need to figure that out 100%. You want to go ahead and get to the Bobby Boy?
No.
No? You got something else you want to do?
Yeah.
Are you doing what I think you're doing?
Leave me alone.
Dude, you just like...
What do you want from me?
No,
this isn't
go
me.
ahead.
This isn't me.
It is you.
This isn't me.
It is you.
It's not me.
Captain, you're
It's
letting
not.
him get this. No trading. I want to trade, Shane. Let me trade. That's all I got to say.
Well, let's negotiate after our final break. Maybe we should do our 24-hour live stream from Sanderson Ford. There's a lot to do there. Their 65-acre facility makes it the largest Ford dealership in the nation. They have their museum. They have the Starliner Diner. Of course, they have so many cars to look at, whether it's the Bronco Sport, Ford F-150. I know. Whenever I mention the Bronco Sport, I know that's the one that you love. I know it.
I'm over here kicking my feet up.
This is why we are proud to be vehicle partners with, of course, the great people over at Sanderson Ford. They're 500 employees that have been living and prospering for 70 years in Glendale, Arizona. Beautiful. That's what Sanderson Ford is. No hassle, no pressure, no nonsense. Family owned, family operated through 3 generations. They give back to your community. And they're not going to just put you in the car to get the highest payment that you can't pay off in the next 50 years. And they want to take care of you. That's why they're the most awarded Ford dealership for customer satisfaction. Get a new 2024 F-150 truck with 3.9 APR financing for 66 months, plus up to $4,000 cash back, with similar savings on over 500 new and pre-owned vehicles on the lot.
Look, tonight was an L.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to stay that way. Doesn't have to stay that way.
Talk to me, Totri.
You can still head over to Gila River Resorts and Casinos. And look, they got 4 different locations. There's bound to be one close to you. Maybe you live close to Wild Horse Pass.
Okay.
Maybe Vequiva.
Maybe
even Santan Mountain.
Why not all 3?
Head over. Go get yourself a dub over at the slots, the live table games. If you didn't know, they got it all with over 4,500 slots and live table games, or you can catch all the action at any of their sports books. That would have been a great way to digest this game for Arizona State, is if you were just chilling over at the Gila River Resorts and Casinos.
If you bet the under on second half points for ASU.
I mean, that's a dub. That's a dub right there, guys. Remember, you do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details.
So what did you want to do before
I just want you to promise the chat that you're not going to do that again.
No, we're commercial free.
Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Drop a 5-star review.
I'm not going to Scott Hansen. I'm not going to lie to you, but we are commercial free.
CJ Warren in the chat. During the 24-hour live stream, watch Scat's season highlights, and every time he runs someone over, take a shot.
We would die. Hello, Maze Devil. We would die.
Yeah, that would be a lot.
It would be like 30 seconds in, it'd be like, okay, shot number 8.
It'd be the first play.
That's what I'm saying. 30 seconds, it would be taking 8 shots.
Yeah, but 30 seconds is more than a play.
Yeah, but it would have to be every...
We
are not going to survive 24 hours. We are not going to survive 24 hours.
No, we are absolutely not.
We do have to get it. We have to get a therapist.
We got to schedule out a therapy. You think the company will pay for that for an hour therapist?
No chance.
You don't think we can reimburse that?
Maybe Kyle should be our therapist.
Like, should we do an actual therapy session?
Yeah, like Kyle should.
You got to be dressed up though as like a therapist.
Oh, like get him like some nice glasses.
Yeah,
a turtle. Kyle in a turtleneck.
We'll put 2 lawn chairs in here.
Do you remember when we were mid renovating the studio? And one episode we did sitting in gray chairs on the ground.
That's a golden.
That was a great episode.
That was a classic episode.
Might be the greatest we've ever done.
I mean, I loved that seating arrangement.
This table's sick though.
The deli man didn't like that seating arrangement.
No, the deli man said no.
Literally did that.
Just like he said no trading.
He threw a salami sandwich at Erik.
Full force.
Yeah.
I got slapped with salami.
Got slapped with lunch meat. That's crazy. That's tough. Let's go to get to the Bobby board. Why don't we? This one is going to mean no new Bobby face. But like we've talked about yesterday, today, and likely tomorrow as well, that Arizona State has a chance to really go on a nice run here. You got to flush this game against Kansas. You could pick up a really nice win over Baylor. And then you got, I'm not going to say some cakewalks, but you got some of the bottom tier teams in this conference that would be huge to go pick up wins over a UCF, a Cincinnati, and maybe even a West Virginia team that looks beatable now after losing to Arizona, right? That would be 4 straight there. You'd be talking about a 14-4 team.
And then you're going to whoop Iowa State.
And then you are going to, then you're going to play Iowa State.
Upset watch.
And then after that, again, some big opportunities, right? Each one of those games presents an opportunity. Colorado, you'd love to sweep them on the year, right? your first go at Arizona, an Arizona team that also looks beatable, right? A bad Kansas State, a bad Oklahoma State. Like there are definitely a lot of upcoming games that Arizona State should not only win, but could win handedly.
Sure. The thing is, the BYU game, I really want to know if that's an anomaly or not, because BYU has not been good in Big 12 play after beating the brakes off of ASU. They got blown out by Houston, who's one of the best teams in the country, 86-55. Then they lost to Texas Tech, 72-67. Right? So BYU would be probably one of those teams that if we hadn't played them yet, we'd be talking about as, hey, this is a winnable game for Arizona State, right? Like it's not your Kansases of the world, your Houstons of the world. Like you would look at that and say, oh, BYU, good team, lots of good teams in the Big 12, but more middle of the pack.
Yeah.
And you got blown out.
Yeah.
Right. Same thing with Colorado, though, and you blew them out. So I'm wondering, which one are you more like? Are you more of the team that's going to take advantage when you're more of an equal opponent? And you're going to prove that you're just slightly better than that consistently, and you're going to beat the teams like Colorado. You'll bounce back against the teams like BYU. Or are you going to show that you're more like the first game of Big 12 play, where you're on the road, you face a tough test, you're going to be kind of on the bottom of that middle of the pack, right? Like, where do you fall closer to? I'm interested once you get past Baylor, who is definitely not one of the best teams in the Big 12.
They're a good team.
But they're a good team. I would say that they are definitely better than BYU. Definitely worse than Kansas. They're kind of that middle ground test. Like, what are you going to do at home responding to this? Will say a lot for how I'm going to feel going into UCF, Cincinnati, who was ranked at one point before Arizona beat them, West Virginia, who's still ranked at 21. Of course, Arizona did beat them too. So like the Big 12 could eat itself alive. ASU could be a part of that, or they can get eaten.
Yeah.
Like it either is on the table.
CJ Warner in the chat, the Frankie Collins homecoming game is going to be cinema. Unfortunately, Frankie Collins has a broken foot. And he is done for the entire season. That happened some time ago. So you won't get to see that. Maybe if he returns to TCU next season, I imagine he'll get a red shirt for going down so early in the season. Will was bringing up another point in the chat. If we could scroll up to that comment, saying you need to win the next 4 going to the Iowa State game if you want to salvage the season. I feel like we are talking red button here. This team is 10-4.
The margins
they lost
are thin.
to Kansas and Gonzaga. Like that's fine. Their other loss was to Florida, another top 10 team, top 11 team at the time that they played Arizona State. Like, I get that you want this team to beat a Kansas, beat an Iowa State, and I'm not saying they can't do that. But I'm saying we need to pump the brakes on the whole, we got to beat one of these teams to salvage the season. Like, this is, you knew what you were signing up for in this conference. Every team in this conference can play ball any given night. That's what we said, right? There isn't a Stanford here. There isn't an Oregon State here. There's not a Washington here in basketball. You are going to get this team's best every single night, whether that be a BYU, who's got some really talented players, whether that's a Kansas, an Iowa State, a Houston, a Kansas State, it doesn't matter, right? You knew that. 10-4 right now. 3 losses, all to top 15 teams. They looked real competitive against Gonzaga. They looked real competitive in the first half tonight against Kansas without their best player. And the Florida game's escaping me.
They got killed
by BYU and Florida. Sure, that's fine.
I get what you're saying, but it's where are your expectations for this season? Is it to survive in the Big 12?
No, this is an NCAA tournament team. This is an NCAA tournament team.
That's what we're going to learn, right? An NCAA tournament team. Baylor is on table, but UCF and Cincinnati, out of the next 4, if you want to be a tournament team, you have to at minimum compete in all 4 and win 2. I think I agree. You have to win 3.
I think you have to compete.
Winning 3. Like, if you don't knock off,
they should beat the next
one of Baylor, West Virginia, or Cincinnati.
They should win the next 4 games. I think Arizona, if Joe Santana returns Saturday, Arizona State's going to beat Baylor, and they're going to go on a run. And I'm going to clip this, and I'm going to tweet it out 2 weeks from now, when they're 4-0 with Iowa State coming to town, or they're going to Ames, and everyone's going to be, we're just fine. That's going to happen.
And so here's the thing with Gonzaga. CJ in the chat makes a point that like Gonzaga hasn't been like amazing.
They were 30-point favorites.
Yeah, they were 30-point favorites, and right now they're the 18th team in the country, which is good. Not where they were at when they played ASU. You know, they beat Baylor. Baylor was the number 8 team in the country when they beat them. Baylor's no longer ranked.
Also look at Baylor.
They beat Indiana, who was 14 in the country. Indiana is not playing like the 14th team in the country. Then they lost to UCLA, who was ranked at number 22. They lost to West Virginia, right? And they lost to Kentucky, and they lost to UConn, right? They played teams. Any good team they really played, they lost. I don't know if Gonzaga is this powerhouse. I'm just saying, like, there's the people who feel like the season's on the line the next 4 or 5 games. I just think that the expectations are shifted, right? You can't just be the team that has a good game every once in a while against the Big 12 teams. Like, you need to not get pushed around. And I think these next 4 games are going to kind of set the tone on that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they get it done, especially if Sandin plays. You obviously don't want to deal with that ankle
if
anymore.
Trevor Best is somebody who can at least play some minutes for you, that changes a lot.
Yeah. Is there anybody else on the bench that you think needs to, like, this is your gut check moment going into this next stretch in the season, these next 4 games, whether you have Sandin, whether Best is available?
It's hard for me to think that anybody could be, because if you're not playing already, I can't look at you and say I want minutes out of you.
Yeah.
If we're at this point in the season and you're playing a 7-man rotation when you're down Josan Sandin and nobody else can even look at the court in a situation like this where fatigue definitely set in and it ended up being a blowout, I can't imagine that anybody who's not playing right now, who's able to, would make any sort of difference on this team.
Yeah.
Even if it just comes to eating up minutes, there's just no way. You know what's crazy though? You go on ESPN, you look at ASU's roster, Jose Perez still on the roster.
Wow. He quote retweeted one of our things that we sent out
recently.
Yeah, like a week ago about
glad
football.
To know he's still going.
I think it was about football too. Yeah.
He's like, those guys had no quit in them.
He's a devil, huh? Just like you.
Devil for life. Devil for life. Jose Perez is one of the greats.
Devil till the tournament.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and then it's
right. Then that's just time for yourself. Yeah. I mean, who cares?
No, that's tough.
Jose Perez. We've all been saying this. The original Cam Ward.
You have any final thoughts on this one, Rubus?
What other quarterbacks can we compare former ASU players to?
Ooh,
who's the quarterback version of Zylan Cheatham?
Are we doing like stars here, or are we just doing
anybody? Whoever comes to mind.
Travaris Jackson.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bull.
Yeah. I think that's a good one.
That's a good one.
You got another one?
Another player.
I'm ready to keep going here.
Give me a Cody Justice quarterback.
Ooh. Kirk Cousins.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah. One more. I got one more in me.
Who's the James Harden?
Lamar Jackson.
There we go.
Yeah.
That is how you close out
easy money.
A 20-point blowout postgame show.
Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Look, it is 10:15 on a Wednesday. You know what that means, Captain Redbeard?
I do know what that means. It means it's time to close up.
That is 100% right. It is officially time for closing time. Keep it tasty, Tempe. Of course, this segment powered by Neutral. We got one takeaway. We're going to see you on Saturday, and I'm not just talking to everybody in the chat. I'm talking to Bobby Hurley. I'm talking to the Arizona State Sun Devils. You got a game to get right. You got a game to get everybody to buy back in. To do it on a national stage against the Baylor Bears in conference is certainly going to be massive for the Sun Devils. We will see you on Saturday for the game. Of course, we do have a show tomorrow.
Of course, we have a show tomorrow.
1:30 in the afternoon. Be here or be square. Or, of course, you can listen on audio. That's fine, too. And if you enjoyed the content, give us a follow. At PHNX_Sun Devils, you can follow me. At Anthony_Totri, you can follow Phoenix here. At Erik Ruby, you can follow the captain of this ship. At K.
You're going to have a talking to after this.
Guys, go Sun Devils. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.